Yeah, I want to talk about the Lenovo handheld, the Legion Go. Like that thing, it's we've only seen some images so far, but it is interesting. I know Carrie made a video on it. I'm really excited about the inputs options that we have. That scroll wheel on the back of the like joystick thing they have, or the Joy-Con thing. Yeah, I'm interested to see how that's going to work out, especially when it comes to like games where you can scroll between weapons, like you're playing a first-person shooter game. That's going to be super handy.
Yeah, I have the Alpaca controller, and I don't have it nearby. It's probably off in my cabinet over there. That has a scroll wheel, which is really cool for weapon selection, but or I thought it would be really cool for weapon selection, but I tend to go past the weapon that I want. So like I want to switch to the shotgun or whatever, and I go past it, and I find that like the games where you just hold a button and it brings up a weapon wheel, I feel like those are like that's a better interface for selecting your weapons. But then again, I'm also not a mouse and keyboard guy when it comes to playing first person shooters. So maybe that's just me. For me, like looking at this thing, I have so many questions about the inputs. Like the reason I got so excited about the Steam Deck because of Steam Input. It lets you do whatever the hell you wanted with whatever game you wanted to play. Like you could do it whatever you wanted. And this has so much more than the Steam Deck. Like there's a scroll wheel, there's paddles for your fingers, but then they have like these weird buttons on the side, like the M1 and M2 buttons that are on the outside. Yeah. Kyle, when I look at that, does it make you think like I'm going to hit these things by accident all the time?
Yes, literally constantly. That was my first thought when I saw the renders. I was just like, as a guy with big hands, I'm going to be holding these buttons at all times, so I'm probably going to have to unbind them. So I definitely think this thing is going to live or die by the software that it provides. If it could do something like Armory Crate or, Steam Input, that would probably be the best. But I don't know that I've seen Lenovo pull something that intricate off. So I'm hesitantly excited.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I am hesitantly excited about it too. Also, the back paddles, they're on the right-hand side, they have them next to each other. And on the left-hand side, they're vertical to each other. And my brain, I prefer symmetry. So that makes no sense to me. Carrie, does that make any sense to you for the reason that they would put them like that? And the M3 button, I think it is. I can't really see it here. The M3 button, I feel like that's another one I'm going to hit by accident all the time.
So when I did my initial video, just kind of going through all the things that were like obvious, like the upward firing speakers, those are the types of things that you can kind of like just navigate through what they are. But on the bottom of it, there was like two things on the bottom. Everyone said it was a lanyard hold, and I was like, this is way too large to be a lanyard hold. But it turns out is an FPS switch, and then there's some type of sensor. So it remains to be seen what that sensor does and how that interfaces with the FPS switch. But it looks like what Lenovo is doing is that the right Joy-Con is the mouse interface for the console itself. So if the FPS switch is on, think of it like a Joy-Con or a Wiimote, where it will have some type of gyroscope type of feature where you flip that on and then you can navigate. So now those extra buttons on where you're holding it actually do something. So that's how I envision it at the current time. It remains to be seen how it works in practice, but that FPS switch probably is what enables or disables those buttons, and accidentally pressing them will or will not matter, is how I envision it.
That makes so much sense. That's why they're called M1 and M2 buttons. So, so you could hold it like this and move it around like a mouse?
Potentially in the air or something, or there, in some manner, you'll be able to use it as a mouse. So Lenovo is banking on this thing. Also, there was a leak of like some of the specs. Someone said it's going to have a 1600p display, 2560 by 1600. on an 8-inch display, which is a non-ideal for the chipset that's there. However, the Z1E portion of it is, at least so far leaked, is that it's going to have 7,500 megatransfers instead of like the Ally 6,400 megatransfers. So that should be an improvement over the Ally. So that remains to be seen. However, even with the improvement that it is, you're not going to run any modern game at 1600p. The good news is that because it's 1600p, we should be able to just do 800p. And Cypher over on the GP Discord, he goes pretty nuts. So he actually hacked in integer scaling on the GP2 Win Max 2 and also the Win 4, I believe. GP2 Win Max 2 definitely, which is not available on AMD's Radeon mobile side. It is on the desktop side, but not on the mobile side. But he hacked in integer scaling anyway, so you could just do 800p integer scaling via AMD's Radeon control panel hacked in, and that looks really good when scaled to 60. You're just doubling the pixels. So in that regard, I'm like, okay, well, as long as we can do that, we can fix that portion. But otherwise, running at 800p and just interpolating scale, it just looks blurry as all get out.
Right.
So the thing is that I've had multiple people always mention this like surface-like functionality for a thing. They said, "Oh, those controllers should come off, and I should be able to put like a Surface keyboard on there, and I'll have a. It's my laptop too." And I never really bought that use case, especially on such a small screen. It is 8 inches, but now they have this mouse component that goes on the Joy-Con, which, okay, that's cool. I can kind of see that because now you're not also carrying a mouse around with you. Now you're only carrying around a pretty thin keyboard. So maybe Lenovo, finds a balance somewhere there where they can extend the functionality of it in that way. So that's cool. Yeah, but
Maybe the kickstand comes off and it's got keyboard buttons hidden underneath. The kickstand looks great, like the OLED Switch instead of like the original Switch, which is fantastic. Did you guys? How many of you guys actually played games on the Switch using the kickstand? Like, how often did you guys? So Carrie, Russ, and Kyle are shaking their heads.
Never.
What about you, Carrie?
Never.
I have. It was weird. Nintendo invited me to go take a look at the Switch before it released, and I went to in New York. I went there, and when they first showed it off, the guy like ripped it off on purpose. He was like, "Look at this," and I'm like, "All right, well, it doesn't look like that good of a kickstand still. Like, I think you should still made a bigger kickstand." But he was really, really happy with that. Like, I think it's awful. The Switch OLED kickstand is superior, and everyone knows that. But I think from Nintendo's point of view, they went so focused on like kids are going to have this thing and they're going to destroy it. So we have to have something that can snap off and snap back on. And we make the cartridges taste like something awful so that they don't eat it. It's like all of these, like they have this big, checklist of like, let's protect kids, or just them from destroying things. So that's the mindset that we're coming from. So I can understand the compromise. I still think the Switch OLED kickstand is way better.
I will say that I love that when the Switch came out and Nintendo called them Joy-Cons, everyone was like, haha, you guys called them Joy-Cons. What a stupid name. And as soon as this thing gets announced, everybody's calling them Joy-Cons. Hilarious that's like how quickly the tables have turned. Any other thoughts on the Lenovo? What was it? Legion Go? Legion Go.
Yeah. So my thought on it is that we have previously talked in other episodes about how handheld PC makers need to do something different to stand out, basically. And this is very much standing out. Like, I don't even know what all these input things do. They got a lot of big ideas. And so I do like this idea because even if they fail at some of these things, we're all gonna learn from it. And it may mean that, further on down the line, handheld PCs will be even better, even if this one is a big failure. So I'm happy to see it.
Do you guys, Kyle, do you think that we're going to get they got to have a dock for this, right?
I would assume so, especially with the USB-C port on the bottom as well. It would be kind of dumb for them to not release a little stand dock thing for it. I'm envisioning now that Carrie said that the FPS switch exists and everything, I'm almost seeing that they could use this in business as like a remote presenter. and then have like the right one be like a pointer in business, so you can like circle stuff on the screen and like PowerPoints or whatever. I would be surprised if that's not the case.
That's very. I guarantee nobody else has made that prediction that this is for PowerPoint. I love it. And yes, I know you're not saying that that's what it's for, but people will use it for that. Absolutely.
It's a good use case.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like, there's this like weird balance. I don't care if the thing looks like a gaming thing, but the GPD WinMax 2 has these covers that they put over the controllers, which I don't use ever. But there are people that legitimately are, I don't know, mortified about bringing the GPD WinMax 2 into like work. And they're like, oh, I don't want it to look like a gaming thing. So GPD made these like tiny little metal covers that you can just put over it, so it could just look like a kind of very small laptop. So yeah, I think that's the only thing that I would think that is the hurdle here is the social norms of carrying around a gaming handheld thing and be like, I'm going to do my Excel thing on this. I think that's the bigger hurdle, even though it's totally a good use case for it.
Yeah.